My neighbor mocked my small house, so I exposed his criminal secret to the whole street. I never cared much about appearances. My house was small, older, and a little awkwardly shaped, but it was mine. I worked hard for it, fixed what I could, and learned to live with what I couldn't. What I didn't learn to live with was my neighbor Tom. From the day he moved in across the street, he treated my home like a running joke. Every time I stepped outside, he had something to say. "Cute little shack you've got there." He'd smirk while leaning against his oversized SUV. Sometimes he'd shake his head dramatically and add, "Looks like a tool shed someone accidentally put windows on." He never said it quietly. He wanted people to hear, and they did. At first, I ignored him. I told myself people like Tom thrived on reactions. He had the biggest house on the street, freshly painted, always showing off new upgrades. He loved the attention. I figured starving him of it was the mature response. But Tom didn't stop. He escalated. At the annual block party, with tables lined up and music playing, he raised his voice and pointed at my house. "You ever notice how it looks like the guest house forgot to leave?" A few people laughed awkwardly. Others looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. I felt my face burn, that familiar mix of embarrassment and anger settling in my chest. I smiled, nodded, and walked away. What Tom didn't know was that while he was busy mocking my house, I'd started noticing something strange about his. Tom's place looked perfect during the day, but at night it told a different story. Cars I'd never seen before started pulling up late, always after midnight. Not neighbors, not friends stopping by. These were unfamiliar vehicles with tinted windows, staying just long enough to unload something before driving off again. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. People have guests. People move things. But the pattern was too consistent. Same routine, same garage, same quick exchanges. Duffel bags passed from trunk to garage, never carried into the house. It didn't look like storage. It looked like a drop. Curiosity got the better of me. I started paying closer attention. I took note of license plates, times, frequency. The bags were always heavy. The visitors never stayed. And Tom's smug confidence during the day suddenly felt forced. One evening, I decided to look into something I'd never thought about before: public records, property filings, court documents. It started as idle curiosity, but within minutes, my stomach dropped. Tom had a past. Not rumors, not gossip, actual records. Years back, in another county, he'd been investigated for running an underground counterfeit operation. Fake goods, distribution, shell businesses, charges that were quietly dropped after a settlement and lack of evidence. But the pattern was eerily familiar. The late-night drop-offs, the secrecy, the arrogance. Tom wasn't just mocking my house. He was hiding behind his. I didn't plan to expose him. Not yet. I just kept watching, documenting, waiting. Because people like Tom don't stop when they think they're untouchable. They slip. The next block party came quicker than expected. Same music, same food, same forced smiles. And, of course, the same Tom. He was in rare form that day, loud and confident, soaking up attention like he always did. When he spotted me, his eyes lit up. "Hey everyone," he announced, gesturing toward my house. "I'm thinking of adding a shed to my yard. Might match his place perfectly." Laughter rippled through the group. That was it. Something inside me clicked. Not anger, certainty. I smiled. "Funny, Tom," I said calmly. "At least my house isn't doubling as a crime scene." The laughter died instantly. You could feel the shift in the air. Heads turned. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Tom's smile faltered just for a second, but it was enough. "What's that supposed to mean?" he snapped. Instead of answering, I pulled out my phone. I showed them the photos. Night after night. Different cars. Same routine. The timestamps were clear. Then the public records. His name. The investigation. The charges. Everything anyone could verify with a simple search. Gasps spread through the crowd. Someone whispered, "Is this real?" Another neighbor pulled out their own phone, already looking it up. Tom's face drained of color. The confidence that once made him unbearable vanished, replaced by panic. He tried to laugh it off, but his voice cracked. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. Then someone said the word that ended everything. "Police." Chaos followed. Not screaming, whispering. Furious, stunned whispering. People stepped back from Tom like he was contagious. Questions flew at him from every direction. "Why are there cars at your house? Why didn't you tell anyone? Is this happening now?" Tom couldn't answer. He stammered, deflected, blamed misunderstandings. But the evidence was already out there, and the internet doesn't forget once it's invited to look. Someone actually called the police from the sidewalk. I didn't stop them. I didn't need to. Tom left the party without saying another word. No jokes, no insults. Just a man walking quickly back to the house he thought made him superior. The police showed up later that night. I watched from my porch as they knocked on his door, calm and methodical. Neighbors gathered quietly, pretending not to stare while staring anyway. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt relieved. For months, I'd been the punchline, the quiet one, the one with the small house. But that night, the narrative changed. People saw Tom for who he really was. Not successful, not confident, just reckless and cruel. And cruelty always leaves evidence. After that night, Tom stopped talking, stopped showing off, stopped mocking anyone. The street felt different, calmer, quieter. People waved at me more. Some even apologized for laughing before. Others thanked me for saying what no one else would. My house didn't change. It was still small, still imperfect, still mine. But the way people looked at it did. Tom had built his identity on appearances, on tearing others down to feel taller. All it took was the truth to shrink him to size. He thought he lived above everyone else. Turns out, he was living in fear. He mocked my small house. I exposed his secret. And the whole street finally saw who really lived in shame.